Hi, and welcome back to the new BRAINTED year 2026. I hope you all had a very fine Christmas and New Year, or if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you had great days in between the years, and I hope you all feeling fine and well and upbeat. So I'm making this episode. It's not a quickly get brainted. It's not a typical brainted with a guest episode. So it's something in between, just like our years. So it's just me and a episode about brainted and me. And before we move into a new year, let me ask you just quickly something. How did this year actually feel for you? How did it look like from the outside when you were listening to BRAINTED or to other things? I still would love to hear you shared feelings and how it really felt on the inside when things were very quiet, or maybe not so quiet. For me, this year felt familiar, but also a little rusty. Coming back after almost a year of pause last year, I didn't feel like starting something new. It felt more like returning to something I already knew, but I hadn't touched for a while. And I think that's important to say out loud because there's this quiet pressure, especially at the end of the year, to present something fresh or new insights, new lessons, new energy. And honestly, that's not how this year felt. There was a lot of repetition, a lot of coming back to the same thoughts, the same questions, the same emotional places, and very often the same insights that you hear in other episodes as well, maybe. And also here in the BRAINTED episodes redundantly. And maybe that's where I slowly realized that BRAINTED is something different for me this year. And what BRAINTED actually is, it's still not perfect, but I think this podcast is not only a mindfulness knowledge podcast. It was never meant to explain new concepts or sell big aha moments every single week. It's not here to deliver something world changing every Sunday. It's a mental training space. The episodes are not about novelty. They're not about conscious repetition, about reminding ourselves of things we already know, but somehow forget in the middle of everyday life. That's also why Quickly Get Brainted sounds the way it does and still will be a part of this podcast format for the next year. These short episodes are not boring repetitions, especially not for me, because I share the most and truest experiences from myself in these episodes. There should be small training units for the brain and the nervous system. Once I talked to a friend about this, and it really stuck with me, that one sentence, that our brain is like a muscle in the gym. If you don't train it by inventing completely new exercises every week, you train by coming back, by repeating, by allowing small variations, taking breaks, and returning with patience. All things I struggle with every day and like my whole life. But repetition builds strength, as the very wise people say, and familiarity creates safety. So this year also showed me how tiring consistency can be. Uploading almost every Sunday takes a lot of energy. Structure helps, but structure can't become pressure, especially not for me, because then all the very bits and pieces and all the heart goes away, at least for my episodes. Maybe you heard it, but maybe you didn't. It's okay. So maybe next year, this year, 2026, the structure stays, but it's allowed to breathe a little bit more. I will adjust it over the year, maybe not upload every Sunday. I just don't want it to feel so forced anymore. Neither for me, but also neither for you. And at the same time, 2025 reminded me why I started telling stories in the first place, just because I love it. Some of the episodes that meant the most to me were deeply personal, like grief and loss, and emotional climbs like Everest. Sharing those perspectives, being heard, and created space for others to be heard, that still matters very deeply to me. Maybe even on a deep level that I would say it's maybe my purpose. I don't know quite yet. And that's why I'm gently refining the way BRAINTED moves forward. There won't be separate interview formats anymore, just with the guests. Not because conversations aren't valuable, but because storytelling has always been the heart of this space. Short stories, real moments, questions woven in between, questions I ask myself or I've been asked, and questions I want to ask you. Because while I love telling stories, I'm just as interested in yours. If something resonates, if you want to share or you want to be heard, the door stays open. You can always write to Miss Brainted to the email address you can find on social media or everywhere. And maybe that's how community works here. Not through constant interactions, not through pressure or participation, but through parallel practices. When you listen, others are listening too, and doing the same small mental exercise, returning to the same reminders, we can grow together maybe. So maybe next year doesn't need more information. Maybe it doesn't need to be louder or with louder intentions or bigger plans. Maybe it's enough to return again and again with a little more shared experiences in books I also read and a little more kindness toward ourselves. I'm really glad you're here, and I hope we keep coming back together. Don't forget to stay brainted. I hope you have a wonderful week and a very good start into this year. Last year was a little bit hard, maybe for you too. So, yeah, I wish you a great 2026. Bye.